And next up on the podium is Northwestern head man Pat Fitzgerald. Hard to believe how long Fitz has now been the head coach of the Wildcats, like Minnesota, a team that in 2017 is expected to factor in the West Division race.
Just want to make sure you guys are all caught up. No, it's great. I want to welcome PJ, and I saw Jeff here this morning with his son, and for Tom, welcome to the Big Ten, and thank you to all of the great media that covers the Big Ten. It's amazing. It's, I think, my 12th now up here on the dais, and to have the opportunity to address you as a head football coach is a great honor and privilege here in the Big Ten. So thank you for what you do and all the things that you do to cover our student athletes, our programs, and the great Big Ten Conference. Looking forward to 2017, just like every coach in the country. You know, we're trying to build off the momentum we had a season ago when we had a great win at the Pinstripe Bowl. The way we finished the season, especially our last 9 games, I think really gained some positive momentum into the bowl game. And now to go into 2017 to try to win, a bowl game back-to-back years for the first time in program history. We've got a lot of excitement when it comes to that. And that's the way our guys have prepared through January all the way through here as we wrap up our last week of summer workouts. So trying to build on those positives, especially offensively. Last year, the last 9 games of the season, we averaged a little over 30 points, about 30.3, in comparison to our first 4 games that we were sitting about 16.3. So carrying that momentum now into 2017 with players like Clayton Thorson and Justin Jackson who are here with me, I think obviously that type of star power in your backfield gives you a great opportunity to be excited. And then to look at the job that our staff has done. We're kind of a unicorn in college football. I've had the same staff now together going on 8 seasons. It's just been absolutely incredible. Have the same coordinators for 10 years, same strength coach for 9. That's unheard of. And that continuity, I think, is what great organizations, great football programs have. You're able to keep your people, be able to grow and develop, and very thankful for the staff's loyalty, but also incredibly thankful for the university's loyalty and commitment to our staff. Excited to be in Evanston for a long time. Very thankful for a contract extension that's going to keep our program, I think, going in the same trajectory, and that's to be a championship level program. I can't thank Jim Phillips, President Shapiro, and Chairman Osborne enough for their trust and their commitment to not only myself, but more importantly to our program, to our coaches, and to our student athletes. And you look at that and then where we're at right now from a facility standpoint. We'll be up at Hutchinson Field all through training camp. The Walter Athletic Complex now is almost done completely with its steel, and we'll be in there next May, and Orion Fieldhouse will be ready and operational this December. So to see that type of commitment from the university has never been done before in our program's history. So to see that, along with the excitement that we have on the field, just cannot be thankful enough. And then for our young men, I get the privilege to coach the best and brightest in college football every single day. We had another unbelievable year academically, led the conference in the country in APR, graduation rates, and a team GPA of a 3.15. Just incredibly proud of what our young men accomplish on a day-to-day basis, but especially academically. So exciting times in Evanston. Looking forward to getting going here on August 5th, and that's one thing I'll wrap up with before I answer any of your questions. The NCAA obviously changed a lot of rules when it comes to training camp this year. A lot of them I think are positive. We really only had about 3 two-a-days, maybe the last 8 years or so, and been pretty successful for the most part in the opener. So I think we've got a pretty good plan, so we won't have to adjust that much. But one of the areas that the NCAA did allow is a week waiver that you can come in early. And we've got a unique academic calendar. We're on the quarter system at Northwestern. So I sat down with our leadership council and said, guys, I can bring you in right away after summer school, or we can take our traditional week off to recharge and re-energize and show up for camp on August 5th, maybe come in a day early or 2 days early. And so that's what we decided to do. So we'll be one of the last teams probably to start training camp, but I think it's the right thing to do. We've got a great plan as far as practices. We're tweaking some things down the road as far as how we're going to go about that plan to make up those practices, but I thought it was really important to let our guys recharge and re-energize before we get going in camp. So again, thankful for all that you do and look forward to answering any of your questions that you may have.
We'll begin in the front row on the right, Coach.
Good morning, Pat. Herb Gould, Chicago Sun-Times. A couple minutes ago, PJ mentioned that you took him out to lunch about 10 years ago. What do you remember about that, and did you see him being here with you at that point?
Well, good morning, Herb. I saw a guy that was very driven. He wanted to learn and grow and ask me questions about how I managed things as a young head football coach and how I do things on a day-to-day basis with the staff, all the way to the players, everything in between. And, two Chicago guys, so, and obviously his relationship with Jim Phillips and some other coaches that I knew. We never worked together, obviously didn't play together with him playing at Northern, but, just very happy for him and his family. He's worked hard, he's earned it. The great success they had at Western, and now to have the opportunity that he has at a great university like Minnesota, couldn't be happier for the guy and for his family, and I'm sure he'll do a great job.
On the far left.
Morning, Fitz. Teddy Greenstein from the Tribune. You've had teams that have lost bowl games and won bowl games. How has this team reacted to the big win at Yankee Stadium, and which do you prefer? I mean, if they lose, are they hungrier in the offseason?
Yeah, Teddy, I'd much rather win. No doubt about that. We've been in some, you've covered them, we've been in some amazing bowl games that have been nail biters, and we've lost. We've had some tough ones like a couple of years ago in Tampa when we didn't play very well, and then played just an outstanding opponent last year in Pitt. And I really think the guys realized, maybe through our experience early in the year, how we maybe came into the season not in the health that we wanted to be, and we had to tweak some things, and I didn't manage it very well. And then as we got back going and got our edge back midway through the season, we carried that through our bowl prep, and the guys saw the return on that investment, and that momentum's carried over, really through off-season workouts, then into spring ball. And probably an area that I haven't talked about, but, as I look at it, the momentum that Chris and the basketball team was then able to carry, just I think for the athletic department and for the university, we've never had that before. And now to be able to, I think, continue that momentum, I mean, it just seemed like we had great things going in football, and then it kind of, slowed down a little bit until maybe we got to the spring sports and, Kelly's amazing runs or Claire's amazing runs with tennis and lacrosse and things of that nature. So I think it's a really special time to be on our campus. When you've got, your kind of men's basketball and football, I think, in a really good place, it really makes things exciting. So I think our guys are so close with the basketball players, and to see that, I think that all those things are real positives. But the gist of your question, I would definitely much rather win that game. There's no doubt about that. I think that each year is different. It's a funeral and a birth all at the same time. When you walk in that locker room, that team dies and the new team's born simultaneously. So each year's a little different, but that positive momentum's huge.
Stay on the left, halfway back.
Good morning, Coach. Bruce Marshall at Sports Byline USA. In opening week specific question, you're facing a Nevada team with a new coach, new quarterback, a new offensive system. How do you prepare for a situation like that when you really haven't seen what they're doing? Or do you look at what Coach Norvell's offense did at Arizona State last year? What's the preparation when you're facing a team you're really not sure what you're going to see?
Yeah, Bruce, great question. We've had to do this quite a bit, quite frankly, especially in non-conference play when there's quite a bit of turnover sometimes in some of the, group of five or even some of the FCS coaches that we've had to play against, and they've had staff changes. It's a big challenge, no question about that. You've got to do a ton of research. You've got to try to overturn every stone that you can find on every aspect. You probably get a little bit of paralysis by analysis. You probably look at too much. You probably over-prepare, especially when you're playing new coaches. But I think a few years ago, I think every new Big Ten opponent that we played in a year and every non-conference opponent had a new coach and a new coordinator. So we've been down this road before, and our staff, we've got a great plan on what we need to do, but it's definitely more challenging, I believe, on us. It'll be a big advantage for Nevada, no doubt.
On the right, in the first row.
Morning, Coach. Paul on Banks, thesportsbank.net. What was your first reaction when the school came to you with the new marketing campaign, #homegrown, and how much influence did you have on your video? Was the Orland Park water tower, was that up to you?
Yeah, Paul, it's good to see you. Yeah, that's kind of not really what I'm excited about in my role, but I'll do whatever the marketing department asks me to do with a little bit of an asterisk. I just want to coach the team, but I get it. I understand what our roles are and what we need to do. I'm very proud of being a Chicagoan. I'm very proud of playing at Northwestern and being from Orland Park, and I think it's a pretty cool campaign, especially with you look at our two superstars in the backfield with Clayton and Justin both being Chicagoans, Chris Collins being from, Chicagoland too. So, I think I'm going to look a lot tougher than Chris in my billboards with actually having a neck roll compared to his, schmedium tank top that he'll have on in his billboard. But That's okay. He can shoot a three-pointer. I could bench press, so we have a lot of differences there. But no, I think it's a great campaign. I think it makes a lot of sense. And do I get excited about those types of things? No, I get excited about teaching blocking and tackling.
On the left in the front row.
Good morning, Coach. Tristan Jung from Inside NU. With Anthony Walker getting taken by the Indianapolis Colts in the offseason, who do you think is going to need to step up the most in the linebacking core to replace his production from last year?
Well, I don't think you can ever replace a player like that. And that's the neat thing about college football. Every year, 20 to 25% of your team, graduates, and now you've got to replace it from a standpoint of freshmen coming in, but then, new opportunity for guys that have been in the program. And, Nathan Fox and Patty Fisher are the two guys currently that are competing, for that role on our defense. But I like the core. I mean, I like what I've seen from Nate Hall. As I look at what Brett Walsh has done throughout his career, I think Brett right now is our leader in that room from a standpoint of what he's not only had to overcome throughout his career from an injury standpoint, but also the production that he's had. And then, the game that Nate Hall has, I think he's really dynamic. He's a really special athlete. And then we moved Warren Long over from running back, and he's a physical presence out there. And then Django Glacken's had a really good offseason, and we'll see how things progress with the group. But I think as we sit here right now, that's going to be a great competition between Nathan and Patty, and we'll see how that unfolds as camp goes on.
All the way over on the far right.
Pat, Jeff Washburn, Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. You played with passion, you teach defense with passion, it's evident, but yet in March the NCAA decided to basically table the targeting rule for this year. As an energetic defensive guy, how do you feel about the targeting rule, and would you like to see changes in that rule?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I love defensive football, and my eyes go to certain positions just like you would as any head coach, maybe with what your background is. But I think that rule is good for the game. I think it's good for player safety. It was a play that we needed to take out of our game, and the only way you're going to take it out is through coaching. And then obviously the rule changes and having the accountability that there needed to be to make sure that young men, when they violate the rule, are held accountable. Is losing a game maybe an extreme? Yeah, maybe potentially, but I start to see that play, really being diminished in our game, and I think that's very positive. I think we maybe need to take a look at repeat offenders. I think if a young man has multiple targeting fouls, maybe as a conference or maybe even the NCAA needs to step in and, there's a great coachism out there, either you're coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. Which one is it? And, when you look at across the board, if it's an anomaly play and it's a bang bang and that is what it is, and unfortunately the young man's going to lose the rest of the game or maybe the first half of the next game. But if you see a young man or maybe even a team that has multiple targeting fouls, I think that we need to look at that. Because obviously that's not what we have decided to have in our game, and why is that happening, and maybe have some accountability from that standpoint, maybe to even make the rule a little bit more robust.
We have time for one more question on the left, towards the back.
Mike DeFabo, CNHI. You touched briefly upon the new facilities that you're building. You're one of a number of schools that's building new facilities. What type of correlation do you think there's going to be between the things you're building and then recruiting?
Well, Mike, I think you can look up on blog sites right now. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but you see where our recruiting's at, and it's at an all-time high. And when young men want to play for a winner, they want to get a great education and be prepared for life. And quite frankly, they want to see commitment from universities and from fans that they're going to support your program and support their experience. And this was kind of for our program, from a standpoint of university support, one of the last few pieces of the puzzle that we really need. I mean, we're far from the finished product in Evanston, and now to have the Walter Athletic Complex and Ryan Field and Hutchinson Field and Wilson Field in the indoor and all the great facilities that we're about to have are, give us a chance to compete for a recruit maybe we never had an opportunity to get. But, that's brick and mortar. It's still all about people. And, I think that's what separates our program from a lot, is that we have great young men in the locker room. We have an amazing group of guys, and young people want to be around that. I think the word culture gets overused. I think that's in every leadership book now in the world. I just think if you bring the right people in, you've got the right type of environment, and you got the right guys, they're going to own your program, and that's got to come from the locker room out. And till I think I'm done coaching. That's the model that I want to have. I want to have our program player run and player owned. And, when we get recruits around our young men, that's really our number one selling point. And now to have the facilities on top of that, to be able to compete, it gives us an opportunity to get a young man maybe we never had the chance to get. So it's a game changer. So
Thank you, Coach.
thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day. Go Cats.